Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Retail Group webinar on global retail innovations and trends from around the world. I would like to welcome everyone on this rainy day this morning, and thank you for joining us all to talk about some of the innovations and some of the positives that we've been seeing around the world, working with our global partners, Ebeltoft Group. I'd like to welcome Brian Walker as well, CEO of Retail Group, who's going to take us through some of the trends that we're seeing.
Good morning, Anastasia, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And this morning, as we're talking about global retail, I thought I'd leave this image of Milan Palazzo di Uomo, which I took about a year ago, and I think that's literally about the last global tour we had done. And since then, we've been updating via all sorts of technology. So today, we're going to talk together about the work we're doing with our partners in the Ebeltoft Group, which is a worldwide global membership alliance, around what are some of the key trends. And you can see on this slide, we look very closely at these topics of omni integration, extreme convenience, extreme experience, and sustainable practices. And increasingly, these are the drivers of customer experience. We will make some reference to COVID, of course, but ultimately we will come through this. And what we're seeing is adaptation by leading retailers around the world and how they will also rebound and come through this. I might add, we also talk about this topic at our State of the Nation webinars, and the next one will be on the 24th of July. So keep posted for that one.
And as always, if you'd like to ask any questions, feel free to send them through the Q&A section of Zoom, and we will address the questions either as we're going through or towards the end. So we'll see any questions at all on anything we're talking about. Feel free to join in the conversation.
All right. So let's just have a bit of a look at the macro before we move into the individual trends. And this is really about retailer adaptation, because what we are seeing is that worldwide total retail sales 2018 to 2022, of course, with the latter being the impact of the COVID virus, is down. We're looking at it being down around 5.7%. And our friends at eMarketer are showing this as being pretty consistent. We're also expecting a recovery to pre-COVID of somewhere around 18 months to 2 years. So, and that's certainly true. And then this is also saying that some of the Northern Europe may well resume normal growth by late 2021. So this is a fairly conservative forecast. We do see a return to growth, but we clearly see it being a little more prolonged than perhaps we might have seen it 6 months ago. And so retailers are thinking globally around what does that mean for our footprint, our distribution, and of course, our coverage. And here we see 2020 global e-commerce stats and sales showing us that we are, as we've always known, a very strong driver in the Asia Pacific region of online e-commerce sales. And in fact, to the point of currently 42.3% of retail sales worldwide. And we see obviously of that, China is the significant driver. So what we'll talk about as we move forward is the way that retailers are integrating. Here we're looking at our friends in the US. We see that the US consumers will spend about $709 billion on e-commerce in 2020. This is an increase of 18%, and that's consistent in the COVID period with what we're seeing in our own markets. And of course, the cannibalization effect, where we're seeing bricks and mortar sales expected to decrease somewhere around that 14% mark. So overall, what does this mean? We and eMarketer and other organizations and our analysts are looking at this and saying that we think on average, online total retail will start to look something like 14.5%, but recognizing that's very much driven in that commodity, high volume, low margin space. And as everyone says, through this COVID period, consumers are really getting very educated to the use of online. And so what we see in that particular topic is an integration. In other words, the pendulum will come back and we will start to talk less and less about channel behavior. We'll talk more and more about brand behavior and distribution economics around that brand. It's quite a nice slide. And here we've been looking at the Australian retail forecast through to, And we're seeing here effectively, as you can follow this, December 19 through February 20, we sort of had this pre-COVID change, or normal rather. And then we saw, of course, where it hit the wall into the April slump, which is well documented. As we've moved up, there's been very healthy retail sales done from that May reopening period, particularly if you're in home and home-related retail. We're seeing the recovery. Now, what we, of course, are all waiting to see is what will happen with the macroeconomic policy around JobKeeper, sustainability of a lot of retail. So that's as you would graph it at the moment in terms of percentage change. One of the trends that we talk about, one of the trends we talk with our clients about is the concept of time. And increasingly what we're seeing is consumer behavior divided into effectively time well saved and time well spent. So as a consumer, if I'm moving, I will want to socialize, I will want to be with people, and I want to spend my time well. So that will be around high engagement. So elite product, unique experiences, shopping centers that invite me to dwell, all the ranges of human interaction that you know, particularly post-COVID, will move very quickly back into. And that's really this piece around uniqueness and how well my time will be spent. Conversely, what we're seeing, of course, and we've called this the buying shopping divide. In the buying divide, this is very much around how will you save me time as a retailer? How will you ensure that you've got fulfillment, service, typically commoditized, more mundane products, more day-to-day products. So you're going to save me time, and then hopefully another part of my retail experience will be on time well spent. And I think that's an important divide for us to consider as we move into this period and as we look at the work of global retailers.
I think one of the things we're seeing as well here is the consumer behavior during this COVID period, very much leaning towards, if I'm going to leave the house, I'm really looking for experience. So we're really seeing that the retail stores that are offering just beyond the transactional to be the ones that are doing well through this period, what they can't get online. So customers are looking for that human experience, having been locked away for so long. So the stores that are really working well in this time well spent space, been very popular at the moment through COVID.
And of course, when we're working with clients, you know, the old adage always applies. What's the USP? What is the differentiator? What are the brand attributes? And all this is starting to divide in our minds around what is the customer experience. And it's too vanilla to talk about customer journey as it expresses in terms of just product supply. It's very much driven by the currency of time and how time's used. And this is why, of course, we're seeing such growth in fulfillment and service models in time well used. Ebeltoft is now in its 25th year, and it is a worldwide network of elected members and basically shareholders of this group. It meets pre-COVID twice a year, somewhere around the world. And it's very much about white papers, global consulting projects that we do, and also very much about keeping ahead of the curve. And each year, Ebeltoft, through a selection process and a judging process, through to the World Retail Congress, looks at innovative retail around the world, and has done for many years. And we're delighted to be part of this, and you see from the slide some of our other members. It's an important practice to keep seeing how retailers are adapting, how they're growing through, and how they're thinking about not just the future of retail, but particularly the adaptation that's required. And so what are the hottest retail trends from around the globe? And I've touched on them. We're going to talk a little bit today about the topics of omni-integration, extreme convenience, extreme experience, and sustainability, which is a very hot topic. So the first trend we look at is very certainly in this this piece of work, we're really thinking about the topics of how do retailers build coverage? How do they build community? How do they build a footprint? And what do they need in order to be able to do this? So one example, of course, is thinking around what's my endless aisle strategy? What's my click and collect strategy? How am I driving business so that I'm fully integrated? This idea that a consumer will, the principle that a consumer will shop me in the way they choose, when they choose, how they choose. What do I need to do to be equipped for that? And how do I do this economically? So endless aisle is just an example of what's my inventory point of sale interaction, what's my program, my software, what's my business information system to enable real visibility, not just by myself as the business, but of course our customers. And thinking, sorry, go ahead.
Of course, this is something that we've seen significantly during the COVID period, consumers adapting even more so, shopping when they want, how they want, where they want. And a recent piece of research that we've done here is showing that 27% of consumers are really saying that post-COVID, they're going to keep shopping online. They're going to keep doing click and collect. They're going to keep looking for this when I want, how I want, this whole end-to-end fulfillment experience. So it's something that's even more important now, I feel, than it even was a few months ago.
And please get in touch for any copies of our retail sentiment studies or our consumer insight studies to support a lot of the commentary that we're making today. So let's have a look at some retailers and the various ways that they're innovating and adapting. This is an interesting piece from Inditex, who owns Zara, and this is out of Italy, called Bershka. And it's very much around using smartphones in stores, QR code on each SKU item, so that you basically point your app, or rather get your app, point onto the QR code of the SKU number, and then that product will be transported for you into your change room. And there, it's a very contactless experience. Its novelty is integrating technology and integrating consumer experience, but doing it in a fairly contactless way. And of course, what you then get is a very interesting profile of demand, which in turn enables your buying, more efficiency of space, and so forth. This is out of the US. This is Carvana. Carvana is a business for which you can buy and sell used cars. You're able to go online. You're able to treat this literally as a large vending machine. You can see all your specs on your motor vehicle that you choose. Finance is arranged if you need that. The whole positioning of this is about convenience, integration, and you can transact without physically touching the car. It's a unique offer, interesting around use of space. And so Carvana is really that whole integrated car buying and selling experience. This is out of Netherlands, and this is an app-only supermarket. So Crisp is the first online supermarket to cater to foodies. So very much about local providors, local producers, as I said, app-driven, fully online, great tutorials on each grower, product, very much focused on local community growth and supporting the local community.
So yes, on that as well, Brian, I think one of the things, again, out of our recent research we've seen, and as everyone's probably noticing, is customers are really looking to how they can support local businesses and how they're actually choosing to shop local a lot more. So apps such as this are really going to grab the consumer attention, because they're saying, I want to stay local, I want to use online services, and I also want to support local. So we're seeing that coming out of our research we did a couple of weeks ago. And it's very much customers saying, and I'm going to keep doing this as well. This is what I intend to do moving forward. So very much a change there.
Yeah, absolutely. So conversational commerce, Anastasia, any thoughts on threads and styling before I touch on
it? This was quite a very interesting one coming out of the UK, very much in the luxury brand space. And it was something that was interesting, luxury brand purely playing through social media. All of the sales, all transactions done through social media, and attracting quite a following through the placement of products and how they display it via social media channels. So quite a change for a luxury brand. So no physical store, no store experience, but the experience is gathered through this social community. Just thought it was quite interesting for the shift to a different demographic and a different consumer segment.
And we see this point, of course, around threads, and we've seen many examples where social media, Glossier comes to mind in the beauty product categories, where it's social media that drives the unique or the demand and creates this social opinion network, which is so crucial to a brand like Thread Styling. You know, IKEA, we just keep coming to IKEA as a really innovative and adaptive retailer. What we see with this particular business in Paris, as we've seen with many IKEAs, is their ability to segment out of their ranges. And even in Sydney, the smaller IKEA, where it's about taking a segment like home delivery, like kitchens, building an online portal effectively in the store, adding to their online from consumers. I can visit the store, it's a small range store. So it really builds a nice case study of omni-channel integration, such that I have full range and access to the width and depth of the IKEA range, but my physical experience is a far more smaller, condensed fulfillment type model. And here it is in Spain. This is IKEA Ticino, which is their small design center. Interestingly, this is a kiosk in what is really a food court. And so you do take this interesting position around, well, do we need to be in this great precinct adjacency that we've sort of grown up with, if you like? How can we do things that are a little innovative? How can a business like IKEA, which, by the way, is very quickly evolving into a smart home center as well, can take a business like theirs and segment it into such small formats? So that leads us into the pop-up shop, seasonal campaigns, promotional campaigns, and very much driven by categories. And another quick slide on IKEA, which we thought was interesting, is very much around physical space is also taking another dimension, and that is becoming much more its use as distribution fulfillment points. So these large, big shops that IKEA and many others have, starting to think about the use of their own space. So how can they convert their stores to dry stores, e-commerce fulfillment centers effectively, provisioning them for services such as click and collect, which we're seeing is now driving in double-digit numbers in terms of popularity, contactless delivery, curbside delivery, integrating it with mobile apps. And so thinking about the distribution network in terms of fulfillment has become really part of the innovative and the adaptive thinking of retailers. This is Probox in France, in Paris, although they have shops everywhere. This is designed, as you can tell, very much for tradies. And for our tradespeople, it's using apps, it's having great online visibility, it's having a physical environment for click and collect, pre-orders, collection, and it's designed very much for that full omni-channel shop. Well, this is robotics from Creator, and this is where you or I have our burgers. So we choose exactly what we want with our burger, and we're able to watch robots effectively, or robotic processes effectively create this burger for us, the burger bot. We can order this via our mobile app. We can obviously look at it online. We can look at it in real terms being created. We can collect it. It can be delivered. So it's a nice, unique example of technology integration and, of course, personalization. And so that trend of personalization hasn't gone away. This is just an expression of it in the burger business.
I think this brings a whole new meaning to the term contactless, very much in retail. So it's a very interesting one, given the...
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it is, and very popular. This is King Living here in Australia, and we really like these people because they're good retail, great retailers, very innovative. This is a lovely piece where, of course, we're using an app. We're able to look at the virtual showroom. We're able to look at individual products via the cues that are on the app, on the website, as this shows. We're able to understand details, make, construction, benefits, and so forth. So we're able then to start to design our own living rooms using King furniture or bedrooms or what have you, from the comfort of our home. And then, of course, into the physical environment for the tactile touch and feel and conversations. So quite innovative, quite adaptive. This is the voice grocery shopping service for Carrefour's. It's voice, well, really, this is starting to move into another dimension, which is around voice control. So we will move, and we are adapting from sort of keyboard entering, if you like, to voice control. And this voice enablement allows us to place our orders, and it's voice recognition software within the Carrefour business enables us to place our orders, edit our orders, change our orders, and experience that whole voice control that's distinct from using keyboards. This is Mecca in Australia. And of course, we're seeing this around the world, but Mecca, I have to say, are one of the first to adapt this, particularly as a consequence of COVID, the shutdown of their in-store makeup service and appointments. But of course, they've responded quickly with virtual appointments, own personal assistants tailored towards beauty, skin care, makeup and fragrance, which is their core business. So you can have virtual appointments with beauticians and develop that relationship online. And here we see in Italy, Douglas Virtual Beauty, similar approach, advisors. And so you've got, in this case, 6 beauty advisors via telephone, video, WhatsApp, and they are seeing 200 to 300 calls per day. What's interesting is that their conversion to purchase is at 50%. Now, typically conversion in this sector is around about 30 to 35%. And we think the differential is the ability for relationships to be developed through this type of technology, longer, deeper conversations than within the rush of a day-to-day shop. And here we have, again, from Italy, our friends Fabrizio in Italy, Patricia, which is the virtual assistant. That's your personal valet shopper in collaboration with Google. So you can call for Patricia or whoever it might be, and they'll provide a concierge personal valet service to you, which again is using technology, but it's also got a personalized approach to the relationship. Of course, Italy is one of the homes of fashion, and this is Motive, which is live stream shopping, streaming sessions directly from the boutique, interactions. So you've got a dedicated chatbot, immediate purchasing. You can see the range. You're talking to your assistant as if you were in the store, and they're guiding you through. And by the way, this particular app also has all your dimensions, obviously understands your previous purchases, has history, has relationship, has ability to interact. So I think the point here is that the channels are really integrating. They're really fusing now. We're very much seeing the use of technology to enable the human experience. So here is Casanova, which is a chat assistant service. It's virtual shopping in store from a WhatsApp and home delivery for the purchased items. So here we're able to have our personal assistant, our virtual shopping, guide us through the whole experience, all the way through to delivery to our home. So again, from Italy, thinking about the personalized effect. So this omni-channel integration is really driving the thinking. What's my customer experience? What's my offer? How do I fulfill that? And of course, using good consumer insights, nice use of technology to supplement the traditional physical experience. So omni integration. The next one is trend 2 we see as extreme convenience, seamless retail, very much technology really trying to eliminate pain points on demand. So we'll move through this reasonably quickly. But of course, as we know, convenience is evolving. And where we see globally, convenience stores in the classic model, omni-channel stores, we start to touch on omni-initiative stores, and that's this idea of partners, associates, this example of Walmart pickups in, Amazonian pickups in Walmart stores and the like, fully automated stores, click and collect, lockers and so forth, thinking about the customer journey and providing seamless answers to consider how do I make this easy for my customer, and this drives loyalty very directly. This is a Bingo Box in China, and it's an unmanned store, which is going to become increasingly prevalent around automation, use of technology once again, which is obviously the big theme. We think of Amazon Go as kind of the watershed, but it's occurring simultaneously, and particularly in the Alibaba type funded models, such as this one. So this is Kroger. This is the self-driving car program. So groceries, of course, can be ordered online, delivered via driverless cars. And so again, retailers thinking about the last mile fulfillment, not just as a consequence of the COVID restrictions of people being reasonably quarantined at its peak, but thinking about how do I integrate this whole pain point for a customer? How do I take this out of the journey? How do I make this so seamless for a customer that they'll continue to do business with us? Robotics. So this is UDI in China, and we've seen examples of this in Shanghai in particular, deploys robot vehicles to safely deliver food. So completely contactless, use of robotics, use of driverless cars. And it's interesting because we certainly hold the view that, you know, for our generation at present, children towards the mid to latter part of their life, and certainly their children, won't need to, driverless cars will be increasingly common. Use of technology to drive. Here's Starship Technologies, the autonomous robots, very similar vein. Local delivery, faster, smarter, and more cost efficient. So if you see these things zipping up and down the street, that's what they'll be. This is a direct response really to COVID, of course, but this is from a supermarket group, Asda in the UK. And it's a virtual queuing system where the customer joins a queue using their phone and remains in their car until it's their turn to shop. Now, again, we include this because it is reasonably innovative, but it's more importantly quite adaptive to the market. Uber Eats, Delivery Hero, branching out to supply groceries to customers stuck at home. So again, adapting, but adaptation with a social conscience and helping those who need help. So we've been really interested in a lot of the pivoting and a lot of the adaptation by retailers, you know, Nike making face masks, and all sorts of many examples of these businesses jumping into to provide a societal cause. Here's Bakusil in Russia, wanting to install vending machines in residential buildings. This idea of bringing product out to people, making it convenient, making it easier, taking those pain points out of the process. So trend 3, we've talked about now as being extreme experience, looking to get people, customers, when they can, to linger, more brand building, much more amplification, using social media and responsive channels around social sharing, making much greater focus on the emotionalizing. So I talked earlier around time well used, time well spent. This is about creating environments for which consumers are enjoying time well spent. And so this is Johnny Walker's retail business. I'm kind of like this because this is really making this point about what's the role of shops the physical experience in this time and going forward. It is about making them more experiential, more service assortments, less inventory, more about training, more about product knowledge and passing that to customers, more about some fun, and more about education. And this encapsulates that example in Madrid. So we like this. It's just a nice little case study, beautifully laid out shop, and brings the brand to life. This is AliExpress. So this is Alibaba's business. And this one is in Spain. So the Chinese company Alibaba are opening shops. Again, zoned, category, experience. You can see a lot of the genesis of Apple's design here, as you can in many of these type of technology and general retail businesses. Here in this technology play, it's categorized, it's zoned, experiential. This business does a lot of tutorials, a lot of evening classes, a lot of tutes you can take home, streamed and so forth. So again, integrated, but making it an experience.
I think what was nice here as well was how they're trying to really gain a customer relationship and a real deep connection with the customer from a brand that's traditionally based in China, shipping product out of China, bringing it into the European market to get closer to their customers so that customers can actually feel that relationship with the brand.
Yeah, good comment. Mond of Copenhagen in Denmark. It's the body scanner, which is, is really just a really nice, rather than just, product on racks and as beautiful as this store is curated to be. It is very much, here we're using a bit of technology, 3D body scanner, making it a deeper experience, providing customers with great feedback on their own dimensions and so forth. So using technology, but again, building that interactive experience. This is Zongindia, I think it's called, in China. It's a large-scale bookshop, and that really is large scale. And again, it has a lot of strengths around the whole experience, the architecture experience, the layout of the shop. As you can see, it's a large space. It's all about traveling and discovering in the store. When you get closer to the books, there are some audio files about the book and its contents and so forth. So, and the author's history. But what it really does is it encourages you to explore. It's a large scale exploration bookshop. And I think that's the real attraction of this business. It's just, again, how do I spend my time? Well, I'm going to be engaged with the experience, not just with the book. This is Hipanda in Japan. This is the Ghost House store. And I think the next slide will even depict this more in more detail. But the Omotesando store is a choose your own adventure mystery tour disguised as a retail experience. So you've actually got the ghost appearing, or the bear appearing throughout your journey. And it's all around curiosity. It's around fun. It's around, as you go through all this curated product, the icon that is the bear becomes this ghost-like figure throughout the store. And you can read about the journeys of the icon, and it becomes a real life character. It is a real life character in its own right. So that, it'll pop out from behind clothing. It'll do all sorts of things as you go on your own mystery tour, if you like, or adventure tour that you've chosen as a customer. So it's theatre, it's retail theatre, which again, all about time well spent. So this was a nice little collaboration between Italy, which we know is the wonderful food providor, and IKEA, and this is a pop-up shop. So this is very much designed around food, kitchen, lifestyle, and it's bringing this collaborative approach to markets at a pop-up basis. So around seasonal food fairs, around openings, around whatever the occasion may be, and of course, as an in-store concession. So as a collaboration, it's an interesting use of two very complementary retailers, if you like, joining forces. And we're going to see more and more of that. And again, all very much around building this extreme experience. And on the second floor of this particular shop was just, again, encouraging dwell time, the restaurant, the space where customers can relax after shopping. So you become part of my lifestyle. To visit you is part of my lifestyle. And that's very much the intent of the design and very much the intent of the retailers involved. It also allies or provides an alliance of expertise. Italy is the experts in food, IKEA is the experts in furniture in this example and design. This is Intrium in Netherlands. Again, it's a center, but it's an open retail format. And you can see here very much around, and particularly in the colder climates like the Netherlands, in-store experience, dwelling, discovery, very much about use here of just very nice navigation, allowing customers just to take a Sunday and stroll. And it is this piece where retailers are providing almost, in this example, an amphitheater, a theater of relaxation, curiosity, and highly and beautifully curated displays, and also, of course, relaxation and cafe and coffee time. Well, we know Lululemon very well, and this is a nice shop because it is moving past the traditional Lululemon and the early innovative practices of yoga classes and what have you. This is becoming a full wellness, health, holistic living shop. So it is providing a range of those types of services centered around its core product range, its core brand attributes of Lululemon and its offer. But it's building out from that into this complete wellness center. Again, it's holistic in its approach. It's designed for holistic customer experience, and it's certainly succeeded in engaging. So it has, for example, Fuel, which is a digitally enabled restaurant. So you're able to have your massage in one part of the shop, order your food digitally, it's delivered. You are being pampered as a customer. Mountain Equip Co-op, this is their MEC flagship in Toronto. Again, fully integrated, but here almost as a bit of a nod to the way it was or is for many. You know, you've got highly curated ranges, great service, digital tablets in stores, you've got great personal assistants, and it's the grandeur. And in the design of this, it's using the physical environment and the vertical space to enable customers to dwell, to enjoy this extreme experience. And of course, you've got climbing walls, interactive displays, you can try product on, you can test product. So you become an experiencer, not just of the product, but of the brand. This is the Shimano Experience Center in the Netherlands, a very popular destination for bike riders, closer to nature, closer to people. So this is their mission. And again, all about, for the bike enthusiast, product knowledge, training, videos, in-store testing of bikes. It's really, frankly, for the bike geek, but it's a beautiful store and really picking up on this whole idea of dwelling, learning, educating. Will teach you every single thing you need to know about riding bikes, and that's its design. It is much more, as many of these examples are, much more a brand statement than a purely fully functional retail offer. I remember visiting, I've been to this shop in Woolwich, and it's got the freezer room. So you put on one of their beautiful jackets and you walk into one of the freezer room, and you control the wind and the volume and the temperature, and you see how your jacket or your piece of clothing holds up to it. So it is not only experiential, but it is also the retailer putting a statement about the quality of their product and guaranteeing its effectiveness. And you as a consumer become the arbitrator or the judge of that. It's also a bit of fun. It's theatre. It's not just product on racks. It's about go ahead, try me, engage and experience. And increasingly when we're working with clients, we're thinking of ways in which in the physical experience, customers can be trained, educated, testing product, enjoying it. And then, of course, as is the case with many other of the retail that I've talked about today, the ability of these retailers to utilize social media, social opinion, social proof is also a key part of their brand building. This is another example of DSM and QL turning their retail teams into virtual consultants, which we touched on earlier, but again, it's just a clever adaptive way of increasing dwell time, thinking about that virtual relationship. This is Uniqlo, and what's nice about this, of course, is that the whole store and this whole category in the departments are all highly interactive. So we're not seeing products on racks as much as we're seeing customers identifying icons, treatments that most resemble their lifestyle, the way they want to live their life, and that they're engaging into this, this bit of fun, this extreme experience, and thinking about retail in an entirely different way. And then as we move towards the end of today's session, sustainable practices. You would know that we do a lot of work in consumer insights, particularly in areas of consumer segments and profiles, including millennials, which are big drivers of sustainability, but globally, conscious consumption, purpose, responsibility, pop-up, and activism are becoming, and rightfully so, very strong drivers of consumer opinion, and that translates into their behavior. So Anastasia, there's an interesting comment here, isn't there, about customers willing to pay more for brands that help protect?
Yeah, very much so. And we're seeing it throughout the last couple of years, really. We've seen it as a growing consumer trend. And we're seeing, 70% of customers willing to pay more for brands that protect the environment. And we're also seeing, quite interestingly, in particular, as Brian mentioned, millennials, willing to walk past other retailers if a retailer doesn't align with their beliefs. So it's not necessarily just saving the environment or recyclable cups. It's having a retailer that has these strong brand pillars, strong beliefs that they then translate to all aspects of the retail that the customer feels that they can connect with. So I think we're seeing this more and more, and like I said, particularly with our millennials, and then when we move more into our Gen Z, very much looking for this. What is this brand's pillars? What is this brand standing for? And what does that mean to me?
Yeah, certainly, over the time we would talk about a client's purpose, the purpose of the business. Well, now that becomes an even more broader question around what is the social purpose of this business. So this is Lidl in Italy, sustainable supermarket, full disclosure about product, process, practice, talking about composition of products, and talking about sustainability, so that products have a sustainable rating, and all about a clean earth policy. This is Balani, the next one, I think. Online furniture rental, recycling of products, refreshing, recycling, reusing products with full transparency about product makeup, composition again, but this idea of reducing landfill, reusing with purpose.
And I think this again aligns quite well with our consumers. We're seeing this lack of long term, so customers no longer having mortgages, buying cars. The younger consumers, our millennials now, Gen Zs, looking for more that short term, so they can rent the furniture, return it, but all again with this alignment of the brand purpose. So there's an underlying brand purpose rather than just they're trying to make money.
This is Horst in Germany. It's a DIY flagship store, which is a small series of shops within the highly urbanized cities of Munich, Berlin, and Hamburg, and so forth. Fully sustainable products, eco-friendly products, very much about recycled products as well, and very, very consciously curated and targeting younger couples living in high density apartments, and has a very strong eco-sustainable message to everything that it does. This is Lush with their Carry the Cup campaign in the UK. So reusable cups, free coffee if you're recycling your cups. It's Lush's position as a sustainable retailer. And this campaign is a good example where they're really trying to get people to reuse, recycle, sustainable practice, reduce landfill, reduce rubbish, and so forth. And of course, this is the lovely Lush again. This is their flagship store. And when you walk into that store, you see every great focus on sustainable product, sustainable messaging, eco-friendly solutions around their product, reusing of their product. There's even areas you can take older containers, you can refill, reuse. So it's a particularly lovely example of Lush, who do a particularly strong job in this globally. Here we are. Here's Lush making a 30-second soak to help stem the COVID-19 pandemic. So the self-timing OAP soap, rather. Oh, the S is missing. So there we are. That's them adapting and changing and innovating and thinking about what do we do around reuse, recycling, but in this case, in the context of COVID.
And I think what we've seen as well, Lush really showing their brand ethics and their purpose a lot during the COVID period. They've been coming up with innovations as to how they can help, how they can contribute, very much the way people are queuing into the stores, providing hand washing facilities. So if you're in the city shopping, you can actually go into Lush and sanitize your hands without having to worry about purchasing. So there's been quite a lot of initiatives we've seen from them, showing their purpose during the last 3 months.
And also with a very clear awareness of who their core and target customer is, the values and belief systems of their target customer, and consistently adapting. And so what today has been really around is this thematic of what do we as a retailer need to consider now? How do we go about achieving it? Why are we doing it? And what is the customer that we're servicing, and what is their journey to us and our journey to them? So that's a very important part of this work. So ladies and gentlemen, today, in your time together, we've looked at omni integration, extreme convenience, extreme experience, and sustainable practices. And these are the 4 key categories to come out of our 2020 global retail trends and innovations. And so this is available by contacting us at Retail Group. And as I share the details there.
Yep, so we will be sharing the full paper with several other innovations in. It'll be available to download shortly. And also we'll be in contact with everyone that's attended. It's also open for our State of the Nation 6 webinar on the 24th of July, which is next Friday, following the government announcement on the 23rd. So therefore, we'll be talking about what this means for retailers and what we see the future. We've got a couple of comments coming through here as well. One about obviously looking at omni integration. and how, you know, retailers actually implement this. So maybe Brian sort of got a few comments that what we're seeing here is examples of very much retailers going above and beyond in the omni integration, but how do retailers take the first step? And I think it's been a bit of a discussion during COVID. How do they utilize this digital environment, social media, moving online? Have we got any comments about what is the first step for a retailer that maybe pre-COVID, purely physical stores? What's the first step in the journey?
Well, we would say, or I would say, certainly to take a moment of strategic reflection, to step back for a very short breath, and to think about who is, first of all, what is my uniqueness, what is my strength as a business, you know, what is my purpose, and a lot of what we talked about today. The second piece is to understand the market, the consumer trends, and to really very and to get good insights around that. The third is to enable a good Magenta or Shopify platform into the business, some really nice thinking around a simple business information system, starting to look at digitalizing that, making sure, and by the way, having a trading website is pretty mandatory anyway. And then thinking about, okay, so what am I going to be putting online? What's my fulfillment offer? What's my in-store experience? And then starting to integrate through that. And then there's a range of topics from customer experience, economic model, distribution model, footprint coverage, and so forth. But the very starting point is to get back to the basics of who is my customer, what do I want to achieve here, what's my uniqueness, and so forth.
I think that's quite key, you know, especially for retailers that are not maybe understanding why they need to get online and what is the need. I mean, obviously, during the last 3 months, we've seen consumer behavior shift significantly. But I think it's understanding that who is my customer and what are they looking for in the longer term. And especially if retailers are thinking, well, my customer's going to come back, it's going to be back to business as usual. We're seeing a lot of customers saying, actually, this has changed where I'm going to be in the future and how I'm going to interact with businesses. So I think that's something that retailers need to understand. Who is their customer and what is their future plan?
Yeah, I think this is really very much a topic of integration. And I think I started today by saying, over time, worrying less about brand channel thinking, much more around consumer experience, coverage, and community. So thinking in that sort of way, you start to think about, well, okay, what is my proposition in those attributes? And then build accordingly.
We've got a few more questions coming in. One regarding, we've seen very much a gap between retailers who are doing really well, really extreme sales growth during the last few months, and some that are really struggling. So I suppose, what is our comments on why we're seeing such a big gap and what this kind of maybe means?
Oh, of course, the last few months is talking specifically, it's a good question about COVID. And as people have come back into their homes, we saw, and our own insights has shown some really interesting findings, particularly around sort of the 3 levels of consumer behavior. The first level was very much about safety and security, and we saw the great supermarket rushes for all the basic hygiene products and so forth. So it was the start of the hunkering down. The next stage was about making my life as comfortable as I could in that environment. So any product, any retailer associated with those first 2 categories. And the third category was, we called it pimping up the home, which was around home gym, home office, home treatments, home renovation. And so those businesses, no surprise, you know, the Rebels of this world, the Bunnings of this world, so forth, all did very, very well in those phases, as did any retailer associated with that experience. And so conversely, fashion's had a very hard time in the last few months. And it's no secret to see that the struggle that category has. However, the pendulum will return. As I've often said, people are social by instinct. For those who say that online will be the center of the absolute retail experience, I beg to differ, but it is a vital conduit to the retail, to the customer experience. And so we are seeing those categories associated, simply put, with home, with dealing with COVID, and as I've touched on, have done extremely well and will continue to do well through this period. And then the others have, that's caused the great divide, really.
Also, a couple of comments here. Where is the Uniqlo store in Japan? So that store was based in Harajuku area. So very much the sort of trendy area, focusing on the very much the Gen Z group there. And another question on where do they traditionally place Carvana in the US? Is it shopping centers? Is it community? Do we have any insights there?
What we've seen with Carvana in the US, that it tends to be around, the few that we're certainly very aware of, tend to be around the big box retail spaces with large areas of land and so forth, because of the economics of the cost of the model, as well as the fact that the vast majority of consumers find them online. So they tend to be near or thereabouts, but they're certainly not in highly urbanized shopping center environments where the overheads are so high, and they don't need to be.
And then one final one was a comment on very much the extreme sales growth and the issues that we've been seeing. And luxury fashion and jewelry, we're seeing very much a struggle in that area. And I think there's some good examples in this innovations pack, in particular the one from London, where showing very much a luxury retailer surviving purely online through social media, rather than in store, and actually creating this demand through the social media channels. Have we got any more thoughts around sort of luxury fashion jewelry and what we're seeing in the next few months to help them pivot?
Well, that's a category that does, has done up to pre-COVID extraordinary numbers. In fact, even going back through the GFC, it was the luxury retail category that continued to do particularly well. It's directly and inextricably linked to tourism. If I talk about Sydney and Melbourne markets, for example, 33% of all luxury visitations come from Asiatic tourists, and then there's another 20 to 25% from other countries. So tourism and the relationship to tourism is the big driver there. And the numbers, for those who know that sector, are phenomenal normally. So that's been the largest pain point. But certainly focusing in on existing customers, domestic customers, creating online catalogs, working with customers no matter where they live, I think is very much the direction, and using virtual technology to enable new product displays, one-on-one database relationships and so forth. And going back into spend history will be some of the things that would be occurring, and dealing directly with previous customers.
Fantastic. And we are unfortunately running out of time now. We've got just one final question, and I think we've mentioned a couple of examples from Australia here. And do we really see trends from Australia being slower than other countries? What are we seeing about the adoption, and how do we rate Australia in regards to what we're seeing globally?
Australia, I mean, not just because it's our country, but having worked with Ebeltoft for what is now about 10 years, I do form the view that Australia actually has some really innovative retailers and some really innovative thinkers. And if we look at the examples today, also in this body of work is Catch Group. They've done some innovative work as well. I think, funnily enough, that the interesting piece is that the smaller the scale of the country, the more innovative they tend to be, because they have to think about their market in terms of supply, and they're just quite clever about it. So I rate Australian retail quite highly, and I rate the innovation of some of its practitioners quite highly as well. Where does it score? I mean, it's certainly up there without a doubt. Each year we put in cases, and Australia has always got 2 or 3 in the finals. And then, so my general view is, they are innovative and they are very good. We've got some world-class retailers. If you look at from the West farmers through to super retailers. You know, they are world class and hold their own in any market.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think definitely when we meet with our global partners, there's often questions about what's happening in Australia. So I think because we're so close to it, we maybe don't see the innovations, but definitely when we do speak to our global partners, they're very interested in what we are doing over here, and very similar to some of the trends that we see in Canada and certain parts of Europe as well. So we're moving at a similar pace. I think it's just always people see the comments about the USA. I'm afraid that is all we've got time for today. We have run out of time, so apologies if we haven't managed to get to your questions. As always, great to have everybody with us.
Feel free to contact Anastasia or myself with those questions directly. We're more than happy. And this slide really talks about a lot of our work is we're also pivoting. So for the time being, we're certainly got all our offers very much online, and we're very happy to work with you and to really continue to build efficient retail.
Fantastic. Thanks for everyone's time today. The recording will be available and also the download to go into more detail of some more of the innovations that we're seeing globally. And if you want to read more about the very much detail of some of the ones we've talked about today. So as always, reach out to us and we look forward to seeing you join us for our next webinar on the 24th of July.
Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, Anastasia.